What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, and welcome back, finally, after 4 years and 2 months, to my Let's Play of Destiny and Destiny 2. If you are watching this well into the future, this video may come off as a bit confusing to you, and that is actually the intention, because I want to make this transition as seamless and unnoticeable as possible. But only so much is within the bounds of my control, and this video is here to explain what you're about to see, how this game as a whole even works in the modern day, and how it has and will continue to evolve for the foreseeable future. Because a lot has changed since 2019, both within the game's core systems as well as the content release structure and storytelling that Bungie has spent years attempting to change and improve in various different ways. Destiny is a game full of transformation and revision, of evolution and devolution. There have been many good times and bad times over the years, and for the most part, I've personally stuck with it every single step of the way. However, since 2019, and only about 8 months after I released that final episode of the Let's Play, Destiny received a pretty dramatic structural overhaul that involved the vaulting of a lot of content. In fact, just about everything in Destiny 2 that we have covered up to this point in the Let's Play no longer exists in the game. Outside of a couple of locations like the European Dead Zone and Nessus, everything else is no longer accessible at the current time of recording. Not only that, but the content releases have become more temporary. While post-Forsaken, all expansion content is a permanent fixture of the game, much of the yearly release schedule has been filled with seasonal content that only lasts for that given year, with one-off activities that are no longer playable, quests that have lost their relevance or have been replaced entirely, and countless you-had-to-be-there moments Bungie has removed from the game under the guise of file size bloat and various other minor reasonings. I'm not here to extol the virtues of this system, nor lament the insidiousness behind it. This is not a conversation about Destiny from a consumerism standpoint. Someday, we probably will have that talk, but not today. This is only to let you know that a lot has changed, and returning to this Let's Play in the year 2023 comes with limitations and caveats. The idea is to pick up right where we left off, to continue with the Forsaken expansion as much as we can, and thankfully, while the Tangled Shore as a location is no longer accessible, and unfortunately we are missing out on a handful of strikes and lost sectors and various other pieces of gameplay from that expansion, everything else will be covered. Then things get a bit muddy again, and this is where the seasonal content comes into play. After Destiny 2 launched, we got 2 expansions over the course of the following year, Curse of Osiris and Warmind, which mirrored the exact release schedule of Destiny 1 with its follow-up expansions, The Dark Below and House of Wolves. When The Taken King released, for as groundbreaking and game-changing as that expansion was, Bungie had absolutely no plans for the rest of the following year until the launch of the next expansion in 2016, which left a massive content drought in the game's wake that soured a lot of people on the game and caused many people to quit for good. While Bungie did eventually release a strike and a few overhauls to some core systems and some loot in the middle of the year, it was paltry in comparison to the expectations of an ever-increasingly hungry player base. So with Forsaken, Bungie had a plan. Every 3 months, rather than release an entire paid expansion that took more manpower and man-hours than Bungie was able to give, they went with smaller, event-focused seasons that were centralized around a gameplay loop and a theme. For instance, after Forsaken came the Season of the Forge, the Season of the Drifter, and the Season of Opulence. The first season was themed around weapon farming under the notion of crafting and repeatable activities that allowed players to forge desired weapons using the tools of an old forgotten foundry known as the Black Armory. In Season of the Drifter, we saw an overhaul and expansion to the core activity the Drifter, a character new to the game in Forsaken, had introduced to players that we now know as Gambit. This new activity was called Gambit Prime, and it came right alongside another additional, more lore-rich PvE activity called Reckoning that had even more avenues for players to earn rewards and uncover more of the Drifter's story. Finally came the Season of Opulence, which involved the return of a major antagonist from the first Destiny 2 raid in Callus, who offered players a treasure trove of rewards that they could earn in what was, at the time, one of the most beloved activities Bungie's ever created in Menagerie, with a huge loot pool and very easy ways to focus and grind for specific gear in a very varied and unique 6-player activity that was revolutionary at the time. Seasons are, and were, in fact, smaller pieces of content than expansions that are designed to evolve over the course of several weeks to keep players engaged, and while they aren't stretched quite so thin as to remain engaging for the entire 10 to 14 week period they take place during, the extra space is usually filled in with holidays, events, and dungeons and other smaller things to chase along the way to keep players with different levels of investment engaged. The problem with these seasons now is that once the year ends, they're gone. During 2018 and 2019, seasonal content was gone the moment it ended, which is a big part of why I took a pause on this Let's Play in the first place. It was just impossible to keep up. But ever since 2020, it was made to at least remain for the entire year, and all that content only had a 12, 9, 6, and even 3-month life cycle, as now some seasons are released alongside expansions. And after Bungie split from Activision in 2019, but then later merged with Sony, the team has shrunk and grown and changed again and again, thus raising and lowering the expectations of the seasonal format, along with all of these different changes. This is to say that in this Let's Play, for the most part, all seasons that came out after Forsaken and before Witch Queen will be covered very minimally, since I kinda can't play most of that stuff anymore. Much of what you are about to see was recorded starting in December of 2021 and after. That said, for the sake of plot and continuity, I will be making little summary videos for each of those years of missing seasonal content once we're done with their respective expansions. One summary for Seasons of the Forge, Drifter, and Opulence post-Forsaken, one summary for Seasons of the Undying, Dawn, Worthy, and Arrivals post-Shadowkeep, and one summary for Seasons of the Hunt, Chosen, Splicer, and Lost post-Beyond Light. After that, we shouldn't miss a single beat. However, that leads me into something that's going to also be retroactive to this Let's Play, and this is the raids of Destiny, which obviously go all the way back to the very beginning. Vault of Glass, Crota's End, King's Fall, Wrath of the Machine, Leviathan, Eater of Worlds, Spire of Stars, Last Wish, Scourge of the Past, Crown of Sorrow, Garden of Salvation, Deepstone Crypt, Val the Disciple, Root of Nightmares, and whatever raid awaits us in the final shape. Up to this point, I haven't covered any of this content because, well, none of it can be completed as a solo player, which is what I've run the majority of this Let's Play from the perspective of. Since then, I've had the help of a wonderful group of friends in experiencing nearly every single one of those raids, and with that help, I've also been able to gather footage, enough to compile together videos for each raid that I will be adding to this Let's Play over the course of the next couple of years. My plan is to, like I said, do so retroactively. Though most of the old Destiny 1 raids have been reprised for Destiny 2, they work best within the context of the stories they are tied to and will be moved around the playlist thusly. Vault of Glass after the main Destiny 1 campaign, Crota's End to cap off the Dark Below, and King's Fall after the Taken King. The only raids that, as of right now, I will not be covering are Wrath of the Machine, Leviathan, Eater of Worlds, Spire of Stars, Scourge of the Past, and Crown of Sorrow. But should they ever get retroactively returned to the game, I will be sure to then cover them. These will sort of be guides, but also sort of breakdowns of what's happening in the story and the lore itself, and basically in keeping with the spirit of the Let's Play itself up to this point. There's also a whole lot of other surprises in the middle that I will talk about when they become relevant, but there are many secrets I don't want to spoil. It's tough to make a completely comprehensive Let's Play of a game that shifts and changes and alters itself this much. That is largely the point of what I'm saying here. Destiny is a beast of a game, and by the time we're done here, it will be far and away the longest Let's Play I have ever done on this channel, and will probably never be surpassed. Multiple hundreds of hours of recording has gone into this project. Thousands of hours more of playtime on my end still, and while it's been a bumpy ride to be sure, on the whole, I absolutely love this game through and through. It is so captivating to me and has been my personal benchmark for the genre of first-person shooter, as well as online gaming for the last few generations as a whole. I wouldn't do this if I didn't love it so much, and I only regret missing a chunk of the stuff in between. When we come back in the next episode, we'll be beginning anew with a brand new class, this time playing on Hunter, and through the entirety of the final shape at least we'll be sticking to it, with hundreds more episodes to come in one of the most content-rich, satisfying to play, and deeply engrossing video games I have ever had the pleasure of enjoying. Welcome back to the world of Destiny.